Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us is Jonathan Molchan. He's the Managing Director, Portfolio Manager for Harvest Volatility Management, a sub-advisor for the nationwide ETF. We're going to learn about a product that gives income investors exposure to the Nasdaq 100. Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to Trade Talks, and tell us more about that, because when you think of income and getting exposure to the Nasdaq 100, that's a pretty interesting concept.
Yes, thank you for having me. So, it's a great opportunity to be able to highlight that we've brought a NASDAQ 100 oriented product to the market that includes both equities and index options. Because it's a NASDAQ 100 product, it allows for exposure to some of the most innovative companies in the world and still can generate high monthly income with less correlation and less volatility to equity benchmarks. At its core, it really gives income investors the opportunity to participate in the growth of the NASDAQ 100 while still being able to meet their income needs and generating a consistent and reliable stream of monthly income.
And before we get into the ETF, there really has been a challenge of generating income in these historically low rate environment.
That's true. There's been a steady decline in bond yields over the past few decades, and it has made it really difficult for traditional bond investing to still serve the same purpose. More recently, the yield on the US 10-year dropped below 1% for the first time ever, and it continues to remain at these depressed levels, sub 1%. And then on top of that, longer-term trend in declining yields, this year we find ourselves in a market where volatility has surged amongst asset classes, and it's really now reached into the fixed income complex, the equity complex, and other safe havens. So that combination of near-term volatility and a longer-term decline in bond yields has made it extremely difficult for investors to generate a reliable and consistent stream of income from bonds, which, as we know, has been the traditional approach taken by investors to successfully meet their income needs.
All right, let's take a look at this ETF, ticker symbol NUSI, with a review of its performance summary.
So, it's very important with the nationwide risk managed income ETF to think of it as an innovative approach to income generation and downside risk mitigation. So it's a recent addition to many popular income generating alternatives, and it's fundamentally designed with income generation in mind, where it's offering several benefits that may help and aid investors and advisors alike in their income generation and volatility reduction needs. I think it's important to really point out that it seeks to allow investors with the potential for upside participation in rising markets and also provide a measure of downside protection in falling markets. And in 2020, for a fund that just recently launched in December of 2019, it's been able to really showcase its mechanisms quite well, as it was able to navigate the sell-off that commenced towards the end of February. And that's really where you can see its relative performance to the broader markets and other income generating strategies, as the downside risk mitigation really helped the product lose more on the way down, so it had more on the way up, while still being able to support the monthly dividend that it pays.
And what kind of investors would this particular ETF be appropriate for?
So the investor profile for this could be someone who is looking to supplement their income generating needs. It could be someone who is looking for equity participation with less volatility and a fully financed constant market hedge. And it could also be for someone who's looking to avoid the risks associated with the traditional bond allocation. And now they have the underlying exposure linked to the NASDAQ 100, which, given the balance sheets and the credit worthiness of many of the constituents in the NASDAQ, can minimize many of the risks associated with other high yield bond type products that could onboard, additional risks while trying to generate and secure a safe, reliable source of income.
Sounds like it would be a great product for advisors, for sure.
Yes, I think where it helps the advisors the most is that we like to view this as a packaged product in which you're not just getting broad-based exposure, you're not just getting income, and you're not just getting the downside protection. It's incorporating the constituents of the Nasdaq 100. It's also using Nasdaq index listed options. It is combining the monthly management of options, monthly generation of income, along with a measure of downside protection, so that regardless of the market environment that we are in, that you can rely on the product to really hit its objectives, and that's income generation and volatility reduction.
All right, Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thank you.
All right, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.